Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. A big welcome to all of you. My name is Laura, and I am delighted that you are joining us for today's ESPC Community Webinar. Today, I am joined by Martha, who will talk to you guys about Microsoft Fabric, the future of data analytics. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so join in on the conversation about today's webinar and more on X, our Twitter. Our X handle is at ESPC Community and our hashtag is hashtag ESPC23. Tweet us at us and tell us what you guys learned. Don't forget to check out the Resource Centre, which is updated daily with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Resource Centre by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking the Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar, Real-World Learnings from 1 million teams, groups, SharePoint sites, and more, with Michael Pizarnik and Joy Apple. This webinar takes place tomorrow, Wednesday, October 18th from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. CEST. For more information on this webinar, please check out sharepointeurope.com/register for webinars. ESPC is fast approaching. If you are looking for a vibrant Microsoft 365 and Azure conference that is jam-packed with groundbreaking insights, visionary keynotes, hands-on workshops, and exciting networking opportunities, then it is time to secure your ESPC late bird tickets. But why should you attend ESPC? Well, you can receive valuable insights by attending a variety of session types across the biggest Microsoft 365 and Azure topics, catering from level 100 to 400. Hear from Microsoft product team members, regional directors, MVPs, MCMs, and independent experts. ESPC is also a great way to build your professional network and meet like-minded people from across the globe. Share and receive advice from fellow attendees, but also from our very friendly and helpful speakers. ESPC also helps you to keep up and get ahead with the product developments and practices that matter most. Find new and better ways of working to bring new energy and effectiveness to your work. And of course, you can expect the latest news straight from Ignite. So invest in your team, invest in yourself, and invest in your career by learning new skills or mastering current ones at ESPC. Book before the end of the month to avail of our late bird pricing and our special team discounts. This is your last chance to save before tickets reach full price. Visit sharepointeurope.com/pricing to secure your tickets before it is too late. In this age of hybrid work arrangements, it's the perfect opportunity to reignite your team's enthusiasm, vitality, and creativity by embarking on a journey to EPPC at an incredibly discounted rate. Forge ahead together as a team by expanding your knowledge and strengthening your professional connections. Gain insights from renowned industry experts, community MVPs, and the individuals responsible for innovative products as they impart their world-class expertise. Engage in discussions with fellow attendees who share your interests, exchanging advice on how they approach similar projects, and exploring new opportunities as a unified team. Outside all of the learning, enjoy networking breaks, the expo hall, expo drinks, demos, community area, prize giveaways, and much more. Book now and save and pair up to power up at the European Power Platform Conference in Brussels next year. Visit our website, sharepointeurope.com/European Power Platform Conference pricing to avail of this limited offer. So after the webinar, we will have a questions and answers session. Type any question you might have into the questions window. Questions will be selected and answered at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Centre, where you will be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenter Martha. Hello, Martha.
Hello. All right, wait, then I should share my screen, right?
Yep.
All right, let's try and do that. Yes, all right, it looks good, right? You see the Microsoft Fabric, the future of data analytics.
That looks great. Yeah, we can see
Perfect.
that.
Okay, then we're ready. All right, okay. let's dig into this then. Thank you so much for having me. That's yeah, it's really cool to be here, and I'm going to talk about Microsoft Fabric, the new shiny tool, and also we'll try and answer the question: is this the future of data analytics? And I know there's a question mark here because let's see if, I mean, is this the future? Is it really what you should be doing? Well, let's see. Let's try and answer that question through this session. Okay, before I start with the interesting things, I'm gonna introduce myself. So my name is Marthe Moengen. I am a managing data analyst at Soprasteria, and I'm a Microsoft MVP, data platform MVP, and I'm organizing a lot of things in Norway and Oslo in the data community. So one of those conferences is Fabric February. I'm gonna give a shout out to that one at the end. So if you figure out that, wow, Fabric was quite interesting, maybe Fabric February could be a conference for you to attend. I'm working with all things data in the Azure domain. Power BI is one of my favorite tools, also using Databricks a lot. And then data governance and master data management is also one of my key topics. When I'm not doing the data things, I am a lot outdoors. I like to do skiing and trad climbing. So I'm collecting the heights peaks in Norway. So if there are any climbers here, let me know, then we can, or if you ever also come to Norway, then we can climb together. All right, okay, so that was me. Let's go into the more interesting things. All right, so what we will go through in this session? Well, we're going to try and answer the first question, that is, what is Microsoft Fabric? And then we're going to dig into a demo, and then also do some demoing, but then go back to the theoretical part of it to see if we can understand this in combination. And then at the end, let's see if we can answer the question, is this actually the future? So we're going to start right at the beginning. So what actually happened? At some point in time, some of you maybe heard about this really cool, really secret project at Microsoft called Trident. So that was the cover name for Fabric, we learned later, right? And then May 23rd, Fabric was launched. And then from that point, I feel like there's just been this gained hype. So it's just been an increased focus, and everyone is talking about it. And if any of you paid attention during the Synapse release, I felt like that was also a really cool release, right? Everyone was engaged and, oh, cool, what is this? Is this something I can take advantage of? But then the hype also sort of stopped at some point, or it wasn't like, when you started using it, it wasn't that amazing or that cool. But with Fabric, I still feel like everyone is still really excited, and we're talking a lot about it. So why is Fabric so revolutionary? If we're going to try and summarize Fabric in one sentence, which is really hard, we can say that it's an all-in-one analytic solutions for enterprises. And that is a way that you can move all the way from the data lake to the business user inside one solution. So you're not only inside one data platform, data warehouse, but you're inside one solution. So to understand why Fabric is so revolutionary, it can be an idea to have a look at the as is before Fabric, so maybe the were. So what did the world look like before Fabric? Well, you had a lot of sources. I mean, you still do that. So this is the usual case, right, for any existing data warehouse or any existing analytical solution. So from the data perspective, you might have a lot of different operational systems, a lot of different data sources. And then inside your analytical solution, you might have these different layers that you're working through. And they can be called many different things. But here is an example. It could be that you have the landing zone, so that's where you will copy your data into. Then you have a refined zone, so here you start doing some transformations maybe and modeling. And then at the end, you have a consumption zone, and that's where your users should consume the data and gain that insights. So then we could see that often there's different storage areas for each of these zones. So maybe you have one data lake for the landing zone, maybe you have one data lake for the refined zone, and then you have maybe one data lake also for the consumption zone. And because of different things, technical requirements, maybe you have some legacy systems, you might also need some different types of storage. So maybe you have a SQL database over there, or you have a Power BI data set that you're sharing over here, and so on. And then for each of these zones, you might need to use different transformation tools. So maybe you need to use Databricks one place, Synapse another place. Maybe you're looking into some API calls, or you need to use the streaming solutions because you want to work with live data. So that means that you need a completely separate tool to do that. And then also I sometimes see this, that you also actually have different reporting solutions. So maybe you have, for instance, Click and Power BI as reporting solutions on top of that as well. And then to govern this entire thing, you need a lot of different tools, right? Because you're working with all these different technologies. You might also need different tools to scan this, to monitor this, to govern this, and to have that control over all your systems. So you could also actually have that you need one specific tool to for instance build a data catalog on top of one specific tool. So you might actually end up with different types of data catalogs or different types of these metadata management solutions, because not all of them work with all of the tools that you have inside your warehouse, right? And then all of this needs to be orchestrated, of course, and also here again, depending on your solution, maybe you're using ADF for that, and you have this quite complex landscape, right? And this is actually quite nice, nice drawing. It's not that bad, right? But there could be, there could be more. And usually today, if you're working with a complex organization, there is more, right? It can look a bit heavy. So, what are the challenges? Well, we already mentioned some of these, but the challenges could be that you have multiple tools, you have multiple vendors, you also have these separated and multiple storage areas. And this means that integration at scale is really complex, because all of these tools need to talk to each other and you need to connect them in order to make your data transformations and data movement work, right? The governance on top of that is complex, and monitoring is complex because you might need different tools to govern all of this, and then also to integrate the governance tools to all these different separate tools can be a bit hard. It takes a lot of time. Because you're using specific tools, you also might need specific technical skills to handle one of these legacy systems, for instance, or one of these specialized tools. And also you end up with, quickly at least, you end up with duplicates and multiple versions of reports or data sets or tables or whatever. So it's not that easy to manage at all. Okay, so what is Fabric, right? And then we just jumped right in there. So Fabric is changing the way things look. So instead of having this separated storage areas that we had, we now have this one single OneLake, which works as the foundations for our entire data analytics solution. You also have, and on top of that, you have something they call different experiences. So you have data engineering, data factory, data warehousing, real-time analytics, data science, business intelligence, and then data activator. And all of these experiences are built on top of that OneLake. But that doesn't mean that you need to integrate all of these experiences. It's integrated by default. So you don't have to use a lot of time to make this work together. And then also you have one security that Microsoft is talking a lot about. It hasn't been released yet, I would say, so we don't really know what that will look like. But the idea is that you have also this one layer of security and one layer of governance and administration, which means that you don't need to move into separate solutions, separate tools. You don't have to integrate, and it should be easier to get that full overview of your data ecosystem as a whole, right? So if you just one click back, we had this sort of messy, could be messy view of the different storage solutions, all these different tools, a lot of governance at the bottom. But then Fabric gives us that one integrated solution that is integrated by default. So what are some of the benefits? Well, you have a single storage format. So in OneLake, everything is stored as Parquet by default. The OneLake itself gives you this one copy solution And I will talk more about what one lake is, because we need to dig into this key feature to really understand why Fabric is cool. It's fully integrated by default. And also we have this centralized administration and governance across all these experiences that you have on top. Because you are inside this one solution, and you can just switch between these experiences as you wish throughout your development, that also means that you have this collaboration experience. So we can all be inside the same experience or different experience, but still working on the same solution, the same data, the same scripts, etc. And this also gives some flexibility on the technical skills, because if you are used to working in the SQL view, you can go into data warehousing. But if you're more into the notebooks and data lake view, you can change to the data lake view instead. So it's more flexible in that way too. Around all of this is all like wrapped into this AI assisted solution. So we also get some help from AI on top of this. All right. So what is Microsoft Fabric? Trying to summarize this a bit. So it is a software as a service. So you're getting this entire solution as a service. You don't have to spend time on infrastructure and integrations and so on. And it's this all-in-one analytical solution. So at one place, you can handle your data movement, your data storage, data science. If you're working in real-time analytics, you can do that inside Fabric. You don't need a separate tool integrated to do that. You can work with business intelligence, which is Power BI for those of you who have been using that tool before. You can also look into data governance and data security inside this one tool. Okay. That was the really brief, I guess, introduction of Fabric as at this top level overview, right? And it is difficult to try and summarize this. But let's try and get a bit more familiar with Fabric, looking into some of the key features. Okay. So I want to highlight a couple of key features that I think are really cool. And the one I want to start with is the one lake view. So that is the one that I've yellowed out a bit in our view right now. And that is the foundation, I think, for a lot of the great stuff that you have inside Fabric. So inside Fabric, you have one lake per tenant. So even though you can connect your lake to different Fabric capacities, so now we're digging into some of the details. I'm just going to try and mention some of the capabilities without making it too complex. But inside Fabric, per tenant, you have one lake. That's the whole point, right? But you can still decide where do you want to save your data, because you can have separated Fabric capacities for your one lake. That means that you can store your data in different regions, right? But you have this one virtual lake, that is the one lake. Okay. And then one lake, you can think of it as one drive for data. And one key thing that you also have with one lake is this one lake explorer. So instead of having or when you're working with OneDrive, right, you would go into your file explorer, and then you would look at your files and do the things that you wanted with those files. You have the same possibilities with one lake. So if you download the one lake explorer integration, you can see you can start looking at your data as a OneDrive. So I'm going to demo that in a bit. Another key feature with OneLake is something that they call shortcuts. So because why is it cool to have one lake, this one lake, if you still have to copy all your existing data into that one lake, right? We're still getting all these duplicates. So why is this a benefit at all? So that's why they introduce shortcuts. So instead of copying your data from existing, maybe you have other data lakes already existing. Instead of copying that data, you can set up a shortcut towards that data. So that's the that you can see on this drawing here. So instead of having that copy, you get this virtualized copy, or this pointer to the actual data that could be stored somewhere else. But that means that you still have this one logical data lake, one logical data catalog, really, where you can have all your data inside your one lake. So you don't have to move the data, but you get these pointers to existing data storage areas but you still see it inside your OneLake, and you can access it through your OneLake. All right. You can also, if you're using existing solutions, maybe you're using Azure Databricks, your Databricks can still connect to the data that you have inside OneLake. So it's not, you're not limited in that sense either. So other solutions can still use your OneLake as their source. You don't have to be inside Fabric to do everything. Yeah, so here we also see some drawings. I want to switch to the next view and just pause here a bit so we can see, have a look at the OneLake view. Okay, so OneLake is our foundation. Trying to summarize this, OneLake is our foundation. We have the experiences on top that can connect to and pull data up to the experiences and do transformations or modeling or whatever you need to do with your data. You can also use shortcuts to pull more data into your OneLake, even though you have stored the data somewhere else, have these virtual pointers. And then if you're also using separate solutions, they can still pull data from that from the OneLake and transform it in another solution. Databricks is an example of that. Inside OneLake, you separate your data structure using workspaces. So if you worked with Power BI, you might be familiar with workspaces already. Workspaces is, well, in Power BI, it used to be your development area where you put in your reports, and then you would publish an app on top of that workspace. So that's how you made the Power BI reports available for your report consumers. So inside OneLake, we would have these workspaces. So you could have workspace A, and inside that workspace, you can have all your Power BI reports and data sets that you might be used to with Power BI, but you can also have your lakehouse or your warehouse or your notebooks, and all the items that you want to work with could be inside that one. And then you can have another workspace, workspace B, that could have different lakehouses or different warehouses, etc. So the workspaces is the first sort of folder structure that you get in OneLake. We'll also see that in a demo next. Okay, trying to summarize the OneLake features. What are the benefits? Well, OneLake, that's the key thing that provides this one version of your data. It is a data lake as a service, so you can just click somewhere in Fabric and then it will generate this data lake for you. You don't have to provision it and set it up and pull in all these settings and integration, and all of that is just ready for you right away. You can have multiple lakehouses inside your OneLake. It supports Delta format, but also it's flexible, so you can have different storage formats inside OneLake. You can pull in this OneLake Explorer, which means that you can just, through your File Explorer on your computer, browse through the data that exists in your OneLake. And also for the Power BI users or business users, this is also provides this familiar user interface that you're used to work with, and also this file structure user interface. Okay, so that was the OneLake. That's one of the key features. OneLake also enables something else for us, and that is the direct lake features. Some of you might have heard of this already. I feel like this is one of the key points that Microsoft will pull up like as something that's really cool with Fabric, and it is. So again, if you've been working with Power BI, you know that there's two options for you. You can connect using the direct lake solution, which it can be a bit slow. So when you're clicking around on your report, it can render a bit slow, but you get the data in real time, so it will always be updated because you have that connection towards your data source. Then you have the import option. So instead of just having that connection, you are pulling actually your data into your data sets. You now have a copy of your data, so you have a copy of your tables. So that is really fast. So that's great, but it's also it doesn't update that often. So it's you are dependent on setting up a scheduled refresh in your data set. And also you get this, it's a duplicate, right? So now you have actually duplicated your data, which is something that we don't really usually like to do. Then Direct Lake is a new setup that combines these two. So because you're using this Parquet format file, it can quickly read your data as you could with Direct Query, but it's just much quicker. So you get the fastness of your Direct Query, no, sorry, the fastness of your import, but the updated data that you also get with the direct query. So it's sort of best of both worlds combined into direct lake. Right. Okay. Then I also want to mention the Copilot feature. Haven't really seen this yet, right? Because I mean, it's you can see it some places or some in some parts of the Microsoft domain right now. It's really cool, but it's coming and it's going to be a part of the Fabric experience for sure. So this is just a screenshot from some of one of the demos that Microsoft has on Copilot. And it shows you that you can write these prompts and then it can generate your report for you. So Copilot is going to exist multiple places inside Microsoft Fabric. To mention a few, or to mention some specific places, it's going to be inside your Power BI view or Power BI experience. So it can help you create reports and create calculations and measures, so you don't have to write your DAX code. That can be nice. You can also get it through your, or you can also have it in your Azure Data Factory experience. So it can also help you create pipelines. So you don't have to, well, drag and drop and set up all these settings in your pipeline solutions. You can write a prompt and then it will create it for you. I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see how that will work. And then also inside Synapse Data Warehousing and inside your notebooks, it can help you in general writing code and give you code suggestions, and also clean up and document your code. So that's a couple of things that Microsoft have mentioned and that they're promising us. So it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to look like. But I think to have this fully integrated solution, and then you have Copilot as your assistant on the side in all of these experiences, can be really beneficial and make things well, easier to work with. So that's going to be exciting. All right. So I think now let's jump into the demo. I think it's demo time. Let's have a look at what Fabric actually looks like. Okay, so this is the Fabric view. Let me try and make it a bit bigger. Okay, that was maybe a bit too much. Okay, hopefully that helped a bit. So now I'm inside Fabric. So what I actually did is that I logged into my Power BI service solution, and if your Power BI admin has opened up, it's a setting that they need to change that says that you can put up your Fabric trial, and that you're allowed to do that. You can actually test Fabric for free now, so it's really cool. So you need to take advantage of this, or you should take advantage of this before it becomes general availability, because then we might have to pay for this. So before that happens, I just encourage all of us to try it, and we can do that inside our Power BI view. Okay, so that's where we are. We're inside Power BI, and we have our workspaces here. I mean, I've opened up so many things. I want to start so that you can recognize this. Then I don't want the custo experience. Okay, let's just try and refresh it so that it will look like what it would have looked like for you. Okay, cool. This is where we would have started. So this is the Power BI view. If you have been using Power BI service, you are familiar with this interface. That is sort of the whole point, or that's where Fabric is coming from, right? So we're pulling all these technical solutions, we're pulling ADF, we're pulling Synapse, we're pulling all of these data engineering solutions into the, well, really the business user domain, the Power BI interface. So that's where we are. So this is your Power BI normal interface, and you have your workspaces as you might have seen before if you've been working with Power BI. And then on the bottom here, we see that, okay, so cool. So this is the Power BI view. But if I click on that, you get all of these different experiences that we looked at, these experiences that was on top on your OneLake in Fabric. So here we have these different experiences. If I click on Microsoft Fabric, you also see, well, it's just another view, but again, you see that you have all these different experiences that we can look into. So if we, for instance, open the Data Factory experience, you see that, okay, so what can I create here? I can create a data flow Gen 2, which is an extension of the data flows that you have been using in Power BI service previously, if you've been using using those features. And you can also create a pipeline. Oh yeah, okay. So since this is in preview, and I mean the demo gods is just not always with us, we might get some bugs. So it's still quite buggy. Sometimes just some things doesn't work, which is annoying. But let's see how much I can show you. Okay, well anyways, that was the data factory view, and then here you can create the things that you would have created in Azure Data Factory. So it will be the same view. I'm going to show you later, or you could create data flows. If we move into Data Activator, you can create, this is brand new, by the way. I think it was last week it became available for general preview. Here you can create these reflexes or actions that you can have on top of your reports. So for instance, if a number is increasing or decreasing or whatever, you can set up these actions, which is really cool. And yeah, I'm really excited to start digging into this. Then we have the data engineering view. So here, well, all the things that a data engineer would be interested in starting to use. You can set up a lakehouse, you can use notebooks, you can set up your Spark job. Here also a data pipeline, or you can import existing notebooks. And also you see use a sample on a lot of these, and that is just that inside Fabric, Microsoft has set up these sample solutions. So if you click sample, it's going to auto create something for you that you can start playing around with. So it already has some data, it already has sets up the pipelines for you, etc., so that you can start getting familiar with the solution. So I think that's also really cool. If I go into the data science view, you see that you have model, experiment, notebook that you can play around with. And then inside the data warehouse view, you can create a data warehouse. Also a sample warehouse, again, it's going to be auto created for you if you want to. A data pipeline and also a data flow gen 2. And then real-time analytics, you see that you have the KQL database, KQL query set, or event stream that you can also play around with. Okay, so I'm gonna try and show you how, well, some of the features that we can use, even though it's just not enough time to go through all of it, even though that would have been amazing. Let's try and start with something that could be a bit familiar. So I'm going to go into this workspace, which I call data send. I'm going to open up that one. And then as you would have seen also if you went into your workspace, you see all the different items that I've put into this specific workspace. And then you see that there's a different types of objects here. So if I filter on lakehouse, I see the different lakehouses that I have inside my workspace. You can click on the dataset specifically. If you want to look at the SQL endpoints I've set up, I can click on that, warehouse, etc. All these things now exist inside my workspace. I'm going to start with looking into the lakehouse. So I have created a lakehouse that I call Data Send Lakehouse 2, which is not the best name, I know, but it just, well, it happened. And in here, you see that I have some different assets. So I have, maybe it's better if I open one of these. So I have a couple of tables. So I have a silver table and a couple of gold tables. I have some files that I've set in. So I have bronze, gold, and silver. And if we click on these views, you get the preview of the tables, what they look like, right? How many rows, etc. If I click on files, I see these different files that I've loaded into my lakehouse. And now I could open a notebook and create a notebook if I wanted. So if I just open an existing notebook, I can show you what that would have looked like. So for instance, transform data for silver. I opened that one. And I mean, this could just be an example if you've used, if you've been working with medallion architecture. So you might be working with the bronze layer, the silver layer, or the gold layer. You probably have created some scripts that are moving your data from bronze to silver to gold, right? So this is one of those scripts that I've created. And then, this is the hot tip. So there's a lot of great demos that you can play around with that Microsoft have released. So that's a great tip. So that's where some of these codes come from. And if you've been working with Databricks or Synapse notebooks, this is the same, right? So here you have your notebook view that you can write code, and you can decide what language you want to write in, PySpark, Scala, SQL, or Spark R. And then you can run your queries, or run the code and generate your data, right? And do the transformations. Now, let me just go back to the general lakehouse view, if it lets me. I mean, this is interesting. Yeah, looks promising. Okay, so what it actually did now, it changed our viewpoint. So now, if we go up to the right point here, we see SQL endpoint. It changed our lakehouse view to a SQL endpoint, and I can just switch this really easy. So I can just go back to the lakehouse view if I want to, and there we have it. That was what we just looked at, right? Or I can go back to the SQL endpoint view. And the SQL endpoint view is, well, what you would expect from a data warehouse SQL view, right? So you have your schemas, you have your tables, and also if you want to set up some queries, you can using the query view over here. So you can write code as you would. I'm not going to run it actually because I just know the demo gods are they're not gonna do it for me. But you can write your queries here if you want to. And inside your model view, you can have a look at your actual tables and then set up the relationships as you would have in Power BI desktop, right? When you're dragging and dropping and creating your star schemas, you can do that in here. So a lot of the functionality that you would have done your pipeline work in your ADF, then you maybe would have gone into Databricks to do the notebooks and transformations, and then you would have run those transformations through your ADF. And then you would have gone into Power BI and pulled in all the data and then put up the data set. All of this is much more available to you now and automatically integrated. So I don't have to, well, I didn't really do anything here. I just changed to SQL endpoint, and now I can create my data set or my relationships. And then I can create a report on top of that, or a measure if I want to, and so on. So many things to do. Okay, now I want to show you the Explorer view. So if I go back to my workspace, I'm just going to go into the start of the workspace view again. And so if I just filter on warehouse and lakehouse, you see that these are the names of my warehouses and lakehouses. Now, if I open up my file explorer, so hopefully you see this okay. So this is my file explorer. Can I make this bigger? Okay, maybe not. Okay, so I hope it's not too small. This is my file explorer, and you see here that, wow, I have a OneLake connection, crazy. So here I have connected to my OneLake, and you see a bunch of different workspaces actually. So this is the first folder that we talked about, just mentioned that is the first level in your folder structure. So here we have Ben's Lakehouse, Data Center Lake, Data Vikings. If I click on all the workspaces in here, you see them again, right? So these are the workspaces, that's the top folder structure. Now let's go into Data Send Data Lake. I'm going to open that one. And here I see the data that is available. So here I can see the Data Send Data Lakehouse, and I can see the Data Send Lakehouse 2, which is that one, Lakehouse. And then if I open that one, I see that I have files and tables. If I open files, I see these files that we had a look at inside our lakehouse, right? So if I go in here again, see these files, and then I can see them again right here. So what I can do is that I can actually now drag and drop files in using my file explorer. So I don't have to go into my lakehouse, upload data. I can just do it as you would with your OneDrive inside your OneLake Explorer. So let's say that I want to move my wine quality red data, really important data. I'm going to move this into bronze. Let's see if it want to do that. Yes. Oh, wow, how promising. I open up my bronze, and now I see that way I have some data here. If we, now this is going to be exciting. So this is now inside the files view, right? So this is top view. If I refresh this, hopefully wine quality will be gone. It is. Wow, amazing. If I open up bronze, Yay, now it exists there. Okay, so that was just to show you that these are mirroring each other. It's the same thing. We're still inside the one lake. And you can use this to do some changes. You cannot do the same inside tables right now, which makes a lot of sense, because why would you move files into the tables view? Could be a bit dangerous. So that is limited as of now. Okay, there's so much I want to show you, but we don't have that much time. One thing that would be cool to just show you is what from the data flow view, what would that look like? Or from the Azure Data Factory view. So from the data engineering perspective, what would I be working with? So you can create these data flows and also this pipeline. So if I open up my import pipeline here, if you've been working with Azure Data Factory, this is the same again, right? It's the same user face. You're going to see that it is really familiar. And after some thinking, okay, so here we see that we have some copy activities. And one thing that I think is cool with Fabric is that it's combining features. So again, I've been mentioning this. We're pulling all these experiences from Synapse, from the Azure Data Factory into Fabric, right? But then they're also combining some of the features. So usually we would be working with data flows inside Power BI service, but now you can actually create a data flow activity inside your pipeline, which is new. So if I open this one, okay, where are my settings? You can give it a name, give it a great name. And if I go to settings, I can then use a data flow that I've already created, which could be Ben's glasses data flow. That's one that I've already created for us. And then I can pull that in and have this as an activity inside my pipeline. So that every time we've copied all of this data, we've done this and that, then I want to run my data flow, for instance. Another thing that data flows are changing inside Fabric is that you can actually set up your endpoint. So where you don't have to only transform the data inside data flow, you can also decide where they want to put that data. So you can use it as a data movement transformation tool, right? So if it wants to load, I'm going to show you. So this is my Ben's glasses Excel. I've done some transformations inside this one, inside Power Query in my data flow. And you can also choose your data destination. So I could choose that should be my lakehouse. I want it to be a lakehouse connection. And then I wanted to load it into my data and data lakehouse table, right? My database. So I choose that one, click next, and then I can choose if I want to replace the existing table or if I want to append it. So that's really interesting. So we're actually moving or combining some of the features to make things, or to give you more options and more flexibility. Yes, okay. Then I'm gonna move on because time, right? So that was the maybe not that quick demo or of Fabric. Yeah, okay. Let's see, what should we do when it comes to time? So another thing that I want to mention that I'm just going to mention quickly is how do you pull in governance, right? Because now you have all these things that you can do inside Fabric. How do you govern all this data? There are a couple of features inside Fabric that can help you with that. One of them are domains, roles and access management. You can look at data lineage, and also you have something called Purview Hub. If we start with domains, and that is Fabric's or Microsoft's way to solving the data mesh architecture inside of Fabric. So it's this new, so data mesh is this new architecture pattern, right? So we're thinking about distributing architecture. We want to distribute the governance. So the idea here is that you can have separated domains, and then you can pull in workspaces into those domains. So for instance, you could have a sales domain, and then you can have Sales North and Sales Management. That could be two different workspaces that are inside that domain. And then that domain can have separate governance. You can have separate rules, separate admins, separate roles, and etc. So that's a way to federate that governance. So domains is one of those things. The other thing is roles and access management. So inside Fabric, we are introducing one new role type, right? Compared to the Power BI view. So now we have something called domain roles as well. So you can have a domain admin that can work with your tenant settings and also set up these global policies inside your Purview governance solution. And then you have a domain contributor. So the domain admin can outsource some of the work and have helpers. That could be a domain contributor. That would probably be your data steward role if you're working or if you're working with data governance roles in your data ecosystem. So probably you would put your data steward into the domain admin or the domain contributor so that they can handle the domain that could be where you have your data products, etc. Yeah, so the domain contributor could also work with the domain settings and also assign workspaces to pull into that domain. Then we still have the tenant roles, so the capacity admin and the capacity contributor. And then you have, and the capacity contributor is, I guess, is specific for Fabric too, because now you have Fabric capacities that are sort of the same as premium capacities if you've been working with that. And then you also have the workspace roles. So you can have the admin role, member role, contributor role, and viewer role inside your workspaces. And dependent on these roles, and also dependent on how you share your items inside your workspace, that's how you provide access, right? And have that role and access management. Another thing in Fabric that I want to mention that are important for the governance is the data lineage. So inside Fabric, you can show this lineage view, so you can see how your data is moving. And since we now pulled all of these experiences into Fabric, I think the lineage view now makes more sense than it did in Power BI previously. Because now you see, okay, so I have this lakehouse that are going to this SQL endpoint, that are going to this data set, and that giving this report at the end. You actually see more of your data transformation journey, right, than you would have using the previous only Power BI on top of whatever data warehouse solution you would use. And then it is the Purview Hub. So this is this reporting view that you can get this overview of all the assets that you have inside your Fabric solution. So I am going to show you this. So now let's go back to, this is our Fabric, now we're inside Fabric again. And I'm going to show you the Purview Hub. So if I click on settings here, and then I go down here to Microsoft Purview Hub, open that one. Yeah, I am okay, just I want to exit. Now let's go into Microsoft Purview Hub. Click on that one. And here we have the hub that I just talked about. So on top here, we have some links that will send you into other governance area, like places, right? That here is Microsoft Purview. So for instance, if you're working with data loss prevention or information protection, labeling your data, etc., you will do that centralized in Purview, because that is centralized for the entire Microsoft 365, right? So you're not doing that inside Fabric, but it's connected to Fabric. So if you do that in the centralized solution for the entire Microsoft 365, you can still enable that or use that inside Fabric, right? So for instance, data loss prevention policies or information protection labeling, etc. You do that there, and then you can use it inside Fabric. So it can send you to these places. And then we have this overview of our report and our assets. And there's just, well, a lot of information here. If we open the full report, click here. Oh, it just warned me that something that I saved might not be saved, but I didn't really save anything that important. Okay, cool. So now it opened up our report. This is auto generated for us, so I didn't do anything. It just happened. It's just giving us this by default. Here we can see that I have 12 workspaces. I have 151 items. You can see endorsements. So have I endorsed any of my items? So I have inside my Data Vikings workspace, I have 3 certified, 8 promoted, but 64 is not endorsed or promoted. You can see by your sensitivity report, you can see have you labeled your data. So the labels themselves you put up inside your data loss prevention solution inside Purview. That's centralized, right, for Microsoft 365. But the labels themselves you can then use inside Fabric. So here I've labeled some of my Fabric items, but not all of them. So you see I'm not doing that great, but I've labeled some. So some are confidential, some are public, etc. And then you can see how well you're doing. And I mean, the goal should be that everything is labeled and you got control over everything. All the policies are enforced, etc. So this will be a key place for your data steward to go in and see how are we performing. Wait, only haven't labeled 82%. Wow, I need to fix that, right? And you can manage this from here. I mean, there's more details you can dig into here, but let's. I think we need to. Well, we only have 10 minutes left, so I want to try and see if I can wrap this up for us. All right. So what do we look at? Well, Fabric enables this data ecosystem thinking, right? Because you have this one place, everyone can go in there, everyone can work with this, and you still have your data movement going from sources, creation to reports. You have your data quality that will increase when you're going through your sources, creation to reports. But Fabric is also making it much easier to do the work, right? Which is a good thing. It's a great thing, but that also means that usually maybe your business analyst, they can now do more, right? They can work with data flows and they can actually move data, as we saw that you could have these data destinations inside your data flows, for instance. It's much easier to do the wrong things, right? And Microsoft Fabric enables these business analysts to do more of your data work closer to the source than what they've previously been able to do. So I think that means that so even though Fabric is this amazing tool, so anyone can use it, right? But you still need to do the right things. And I think the governance of Fabric is going to be more important than ever. And that's going to be the key to success, that you're able to govern this to actually enable all these great opportunities that you have inside. Okay, so how can we be ready? So we're going to try and answer, is this the future of analytics, right? What happened here? How did Fabric happen? Could we have known that it was going to happen, right? It's a difficult question to answer, but we can look into it by trying to look at what drives revolutionizing technology, right? So one thing is that new technology becomes available, and we've seen this with AI and machine learning, etc. We also see that there could be a change in the funding options, and also the risk that customers are willing to take. We've seen that change. You don't want to have these huge investments from the start. You just want to have it quick and easy and pay as you go, or pay for what you're using, or pay monthly or whatever. You don't want to spend all this time on integrations, infrastructure. And that's what we're seeing with software as a service becoming this preferred solutions for customers. And then we also see the change or the shift in the customer expectations or needs or preferences that also drives revolutionizing technology. And that's also a thing now, because I mean, everyone is, I know ChatGPT, I know AI, this is easy. They have these high expectations to technology in general, that they're expecting to get these insights really fast. They're expecting it to be super easy and with high quality, just like that. Just give me the insights. I don't care about this data transformation journey, right? I just want the insights. And then again, how can we be ready for this? Could we have known? Well, it's not really easy. So what I think was really interesting when I started digging into this topic was that I saw that we have had these trends, right? So we have had a lot of talk about best of breed. So that means that like these were the recommendations that we were given from Gartner and I mean other like specialists and experts in the market. What should you choose? How should you think with your data strategy, right? And these were the recommendations that we were given not that many years ago. you were told that you should choose best of breed. So you should choose the solution that was best for that specific thing that you were trying to solve. That meant that you could use, maybe you wanted to actually use your Google Cloud platform here and then Azure over here, because they could be best for different solutions. So then you would choose both solutions. You were also told to avoid vendor lock-in because that was really dangerous. You shouldn't do that. Try and see if you can, choose a bunch of tools, just don't go for one to avoid that lock-in. And then also this data mesh way of thinking and data products, that was the way. But now these advice has changed. And they changed, or to me, they changed kind of quickly. At least, how clear they were. So now, instead of thinking best of breed, you should think end-to-end ecosystem. So you should have one solution, one cloud provider, for instance, because that will enable that end-to-end solution. You should also not be afraid of vendor lock-in, because that will ease up the integration. It's better to move along quickly and get the data up and running and get the insights, and then maybe be locked in because you have easier integration. And then also this data fabric architecture. It's been there all the time, and I think also it started with the data mesh architecture, so they were coming at the same time. But we're seeing more of that architectural way of thinking, which is that you have this ecosystem, you have this holistic view, and it's not that focused on distributing all the governance. You're more focused on how can you know all the data that you have. So how can you pull in your data catalog, right, as the foundation of everything, so that you have this one place to know what data exists, etc. All right, so it wasn't easy to know, really difficult. What can we know, or what can we pull away from Fabric? Well, one thing that when Microsoft are doing these big changes, they are pulling in some new standards, right? So one thing that they are pulling in One Lake is the Delta Parquet format. That's probably going to be a standard format for all of us moving into the future. You also see that they're pulling Python in as a code language. So you don't only have the traditional SQL way, you also have Python. That's probably also going to be more of that. You see with pulling in the notebooks feature from Synapse, and which really is a lot like the Databricks solution. You see that that's probably still going to be there. And you also see that they're pulled in ADF into Fabric, but they didn't pull in mapping data flows, which could also be a sign that if you're building a solution today but don't want to use Fabric, maybe ADF could be a preferred solution instead of mapping data flows. That's like some of the signs that we can take out of the Fabric launch in general. Okay, so to wrap it up, I just want to say, test it. It's free for now. It's in public preview. That means that you can get a Fabric capacity for free if it's enabled by your administrator. So test it out. There's a lot to dig into. There's a lot to learn and to see. So do that. And then the question is Microsoft Fabric worth the hype? Well, I think so. Well, okay, that was a really blunt thing to say, but I think Fabric is moving in the direction that we should move in, and it's going to be interesting to see how it's going to evolve moving forward, and especially now that's going into general availability, that will be really interesting, because I think there's a lot of promise here of what it can be, and where in the way that it's moving. All right, then I just want to really quickly say thank you. Please contact me on any social media if you want to continue the discussion. And also, I want to mention this Fabric February conference that we are organizing in Oslo. 8th of February is going to be a Fabric specific dedicated conference. We're pulling in product managers from Microsoft. It's going to be really cool. We're looking for speakers, sponsors, and attendees. So have a look at the webpage or follow us on LinkedIn if you want to be part of this. And with that, I want to say thank you. And I see that we only have like 1 minute left, so maybe not that much time for questions. But if you do have any, please, contact me on LinkedIn, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Thanks, Martha, for a brilliant presentation and demo. So we will get into the questions and answers session now. So should you wish to ask a question, please feel free to type it into the questions window. So the first question I see here is, Someone wants to know, is it a free software application one can just download?
Oh yeah, so if you just go into your, well, you need a tenant inside Power BI to start using it, but for now it's free. So you have a 60-day free trial period. So if you just enable it inside your Power BI service, it's for free, and you can start play around with it. When it becomes GA, general availability, it's going to cost money. So this is your opportunity. This is your time to try and test it. So I really encourage that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Martha. And just another question someone wants to know, is direct lake equal to live connection?
Oh yeah, so that's a big, sort of a big question to answer in a short time. But it's pulling in that direct connection that you have in direct with your direct query. So it's the same in that sense. But you're not, but it's much quicker because it's reading the Parquet format much quicker. So it's the same, but got the quicker. Yeah, I'm missing the word, but it will load quicker for you and be more reliable in that sense.
Brilliant. And then another question someone wants to know, will Microsoft Fabric replace Power BI?
Oh yeah, great question. I don't think so. So since Fabric and Power BI is just, they're really closely linked. They are more or less the same, and you can still use Power BI without enabling Fabric and getting all these experiences on top. You can still just use Power BI. So it's not going to replace it, but it can be an add-on that you can add on top of your Power BI solution if you see the need for it and if you want to. So I don't think it's going to be replaced. They're just going to work great in harmony because they are so well integrated.
Brilliant. And then the last question here, someone wants to know, do you have any upcoming hackathons?
Oh, well, that's a great question. Well, there are some that might be happening. I'm not sure if I can say more than that, but follow me on LinkedIn, and then you'll get all the information.
Brilliant. So that is all the questions that we have here today. So behalf on the ESPC community, Martha, we want to extend a big thank you to you again for taking the time today to carry out this webinar. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast.
So that is the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. That is it for today, folks. Thanks again to all of you for joining us today. Take care, and we hope you'll join us again for more learning. Bye for now.
Right. Bye.